I already called Esther. I said, and she's going to come and get me. Um, yeah, so um, he had ended up in jail. I was homeless, all alone. Um, I can't remember our friend's name, but he took care of me that night. That night that he was in jail, and I don't remember his name, but he was a real nice gentleman. He was an older gentleman, and he took care of me that night that I was all by myself. And then it was the next day, and I was there with all the winos. You know, we were sitting there on the sidewalk, and we were all drinking. Well, I was pretending to drink at that point. I was tipping the bottle, pretending like I was drinking from it, but I wasn't drinking any of it because I had made up my mind at that point that I wasn't gonna be on the street anymore. I was gonna call Esther, and who should come walking down the street but my boyfriend. He comes walking towards me, and I go, "What happened?" I go, "How'd you get out of jail?" And he said, "Oh, and they arrested him because he used to boost these big boxes of Tylenol, and then he would sell them, and he got busted doing that." And so anyway, he said they didn't have enough room. He said so that's why they released me. And I said, "Oh, good." I said, "I'm glad." And I said, "Well," I said, "I'm just waiting for Esther." I said, "She's going to be here." I gave him the time and everything. I said, I told her to pick me up at House of Spirits. And here, when she came to get me, he got in the van with me. So he went in the men's home. I went in the women's home. We went over there. We stayed at Esther's house because that women's home, they said, "Well, we can't take you in until," I think they said, a Saturday. So I spent the night. I spent Friday night at Esther's house, and then Saturday she got a hold of the men's home there in her city, and their name was James and John. Isn't that crazy? That's from the Bible. Okay, so this is when my story starts. This is when you really have to pay attention to what was going on in my life. Um, these guys come and pick me up. I had a lot of luggage, a lot, and they put it in their truck, and they took me to my women's home. They drove me there, and they were mad. They were mad. One of them was mad. He was bitching around because he's like, "Yeah, I knew you were gonna have to do this," and yada yada yada, and just bitching around about it. And I didn't care at that point. I had a few dollars, so I gave them money. And I said, "I'm sorry," because we got lost and we ended up calling them. Then they gave us directions, better directions. They took me over there, dropped me off. And I go in there, and I remember this black girl is the one that went through my luggage, and her name was Carmen. And she goes, "Geez, you have a lot." And she wanted a lot of my stuff. She wanted this and she wanted that. And then my home director said, "No." She said, "You can't give anything away for 30 days." That was one of their rules. So for 30 days, you couldn't give any of your stuff away. But she told me, "You can give it to her after your 30 days is up." And I go, "Okay." So I told this girl, I said, "Yeah, I'll give it to you." I can't remember. I think it was some hygiene stuff, nail polishes, makeup, and stuff like that. The women's home directors, it was a couple, a married couple, and then they had their staff. Her name was Maricela, and I didn't like her. I didn't like her. I thought that she was snotty. I thought she was. Uh, I just thought she was. I just didn't like the way she was. And all this time, the reason why I felt that way was because I wasn't right in the head. I wasn't right in the spirit either. Um, and we used to have to go out and pass out what we call flyers. And I remember when I very first got there, all I wanted to do was sleep, okay? because that was my only escape. I couldn't drink anymore. I couldn't smoke cigarettes anymore. I didn't have my boyfriend anymore. I missed him. I missed being on the street, being able to drink and, just do all that stuff, and but yet at the same time, I remember I didn't want to be out there anymore. So it was kind of confusing, and there was this white fence around this women's home, a white fence all the way around it. And I remember I used to think that I was in a prison being in this women's home. Hold on. No, Mila, Grandma already held you. You're fine now. You just need to stop. No, she's not having it. She's no. You just need to quit. My macaroni and cheese is done. My kids laugh at me because I don't like to put butter or anything or milk. I have milk and I have butter, but I don't like putting it in my macaroni and cheese. So my kids laugh at me, especially my daughter and my grandson. They laugh at me because they go, Mom, how can you make it like that? You just put the cheese stuff in there and then that's it. And I go, well, because I don't like milk. I have margarine I could put in there, but I never do. I just put this cheese in there. So I'm trying to mix this up. Of course, I got the cat. She's bitching around. She wants me to pick her up, but I'm not going to. I don't think I'm going to eat any liver. So anyway, I would try to fall asleep, and then she'd come up to me, this Marisela, she'd go, you can't sleep. And I said, why? I said, I'm not hurting anybody. I remember telling her that. I said, I'm not hurting anybody. She said, well, we don't let anybody sleep. You have to stay awake. She goes, you can read your Bible, or you can go sit on your bed or whatever, but she said, you can't sleep. And I realize now that one of the reasons why they don't let you do that is because they want you to be in the real and the now, be in the present. They want you to experience whatever's going on in your life spiritually, and deal with it and process it. So that's why they do that. If you sleep, you're escaping, and you're not really dealing with what you have to deal with. So it was at this time when Jesus started talking to me. And he started telling me, he said, I love you. I care for you. I want to take care of you. I want to come into your heart. I want to be present with you. I can help you. I can take away your pain. You won't hurt anymore. But you just need to trust me. You just need to say yes. And he was talking to me that way, and I just kept telling him no. And this started on the second day that I was there. That was when I started hearing this voice. And you don't hear it like you hear my voice. You hear it in your spirit, but you can make out what they're saying, what he's saying to you. And I remember telling him, I said, I don't trust you. You're going to hurt me just like everybody else hurts me. You're going to abandon me just like everybody else abandons me. You're not going to be there for me all the time like you say you are. And I was talking back to him in this manner and saying these things to him. And so I remember that day we were passing out flyers, and And I just remember that he came to me so many times and so gently and with so much love, and I could feel that love, you know. And then I remember I said, it was on the third day, and I finally said, okay. I said, okay, you can come into my heart. I said, I'm gonna let you in. And I let him in my heart, and when I did, I didn't see the women's home as a prison anymore. Instead, I saw it as my whole world. I saw it as heaven. And all of a sudden, the cars that would drive by, there, I saw that is where I didn't want to be. And that's crazy. That is so crazy, because that's how I knew that I made the right decision at that time, by letting him into my heart. Because all of a sudden, the lies that were being told to me, I didn't believe those lies anymore. I didn't miss my boyfriend. I didn't miss the drinking. I didn't miss none of it. And all I wanted to do was just get closer to him. And then it was Sunday. It was Mother's Day. And my pastor did what they call it, an altar call. And it's where they say, you know, if you want to give your life to Jesus, then come up here and we'll pray for you and you can accept Jesus into your life. And I had already done that, you know, but it just wasn't official. So I went up there to the altar. I said this, they call it the sinner's prayer. I did that. I turned my life over to Jesus Christ, and I completed that women's home. Their program is 18 months long, and I completed it. I had no support whatsoever. Mind you, I had no help from nobody, because at this point I'd pretty much, my family didn't want anything to do with me at that point, because I'd burned all my bridges, you know. So I did it with no support. The government gave me they give you so much, but the home takes most of it. So they would give us what we called an allowance, and mine was $11. And then I would tithe. So really, I only ended up with $10, you know. So that's what I survived on for those whole 18 months. And I got close to my Lord and my Savior. We do Bible studies, we do rallies, we go to church on Fridays, we go twice on Sunday, we go during the week sometimes. So yeah, so that's what I did. That's when I got really close to Jesus. I met this man there. My dumb ass fell in love with him, and we ended up running away together. We ran away together. We got married at a Justice of the Peace, you know, one of those places where you can just go in there and say your vows, you know, dressed in your street clothes, you know, no big whoop-de-doo, you know, one of those type of things. So we did that. But first I had to divorce my husband, you know, and so I did that. And I got one of my friends to do it. We took him and we drove him up there with us. My friend, her name was Diana, and we all went up there together. And I said, well, did he take the papers? And he said, no. He said, actually, he said, I had to just leave them on the ground, he said, because he wouldn't take them. But he went and he hired an attorney, because he could afford to. Anyway, he ended up getting physical custody, because at the time I just had a tiny apartment. I had no way to raise 7 kids, you know, and I just had a lousy telemarketing job, you know. At this point, I had graduated the rehab. I had graduated the reentry. I was in the reentry program at that time. Oh, no, no. When I went through my divorce, yeah, I remember I had my own apartment at that time, but I was spending a lot of time with this man, you know. We weren't married yet, you know, when I went through my divorce. We still weren't married. But when our pastors found out that we were planning on getting married, then they sent him away to, they sent him all the way to Iowa. And so we were in touch on the phone. And uh, we got in a really bad fight. We got in a real bad fight, him and I, over I won't go into detail over what happened. Only my kids know about that because they were there. But yeah, so I threatened to break up with him forever, and so he got on a bus and he came back. And he called me and he said I had his car, so he said, come and get me at the bus station. He said, because he goes, I left. And I said, oh wow. I go, you're gonna be in trouble with the pastors, you know. And he said, well, yeah, because I just left. I wasn't supposed to do that. Hold on. So after we got married, then we went, he had a really good friend. She lives in Las Vegas now. She was with our church, her and her husband, and he asked her if we could come and stay at her house, and she let us. So we moved over there. We were living with her until they asked him to come and run they wanted him to come and run the home. So we were running what they called third phase. So we were running the third phase home. We did that for a while, and then they wanted him to run first phase, and that's when they very first come in right off the street. So so here I am with this guy, right? And he's a he's well known in the church for running rehabs, you know. And I'm with this guy, and we're running these rehabs. Um, and I eventually ended up getting my children. I got my daughter. Well, first I got my two sons, and then I got a daughter, and then I got another daughter. But that daughter didn't stay very long. She got on her own real quick. So she was only with me a couple days, 2 or 3 days, and then she got on her own. But the other daughter, she was with me quite a while. She met her husband there in the rehab, um, and so they got married. Her and this guy got married, so they went and built their own home, and then that just left me with my two sons. So, um, anyways, that's the story of how I met my Lord and my Savior, and to this day, I do my best to follow after Him. I'm nowhere near perfect, but it's one of the main reasons why when I'm treated badly or whatever, I don't believe in getting revenge. I don't do that. Most of the time, I pray for my enemies, people that hate my guts and wish bad on me. I pray for them. That's what I do, because that's what Jesus teaches us in the Bible, is to pray for them. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. I did want to share my story, though, so that a lot of people know why I am the way I am, and I'm grateful to my mother for teaching me. She raised me up on Jesus, but I never really had a personal relationship with him until I got much, much older. He was just pretty much a name in the Bible or a name in a storybook, before that. Because I had heard his name over and over and over and over. I'd prayed and spoken his name over and over, but never really had that personal engagement with him until the early 1990s is when I gave my life to him. It was in 1993, actually, is the year. So you guys have a blessed Easter. And just always remember that he does love you, you know, in spite of everything, in spite of what you may feel about him. He still loves you. He loves everybody, you know. It's just how he is. And so that is my dream, and my wish is to one day be with him. That's my hope and my prayer is to one day return to him and be with him. Love you guys. Happy Easter.